On Friday, May 17th, 2024, the Surprise, Arizona Police Department received a call that a suspect had broken into his ex-girlfriend's home and taken her and their 7-month-old child hostage. The suspect told her that he planned to kill her and the baby and eventually killed her dog. She convinced the suspect to let her go outside and fled to local construction workers who called the Surprise Police. When officers arrived on scene, they found the suspect shooting out the front of the house into the neighboring homes. The decision was made to conduct a high-risk entry to rescue the child. What ensued was a textbook hostage rescue by members of the Surprise SWAT team, augmented by patrol officers, who entered the home and rescued the child, getting him to medical attention and saving his life. The team, having rescued the baby, then pulled out of the home, leaving the suspect barricaded in a back bedroom. The suspect eventually lit the house on fire before committing suicide. My guests today are Officer Ryan Scott and Officer Travis Karpuleon from Surprise PD, who were both part of the team that rescued the baby. My name is John Becker. For the past 4 decades, I've dedicated my life to protecting tactical operators. During this time, I've worked with many of the world's top law enforcement and military units. As a result, I've had the privilege of working with the amazing leaders who take teams into the world's most dangerous situations. The goal of this podcast is to share their stories in hopes of making us all better leaders, better thinkers, and better people. Welcome to the debrief. Guys, thanks for being here with me.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
So, Ryan, why don't we start with, tell me about the city of Surprise, Arizona.
So the city of Surprise is located northwest of Phoenix, about 40 miles northwest of Phoenix. We are about 160,000 as far as our population. It increases during the wintertime. We get a lot of snowbirds that come through. So boosts up to about 200,000 sometimes in populace. Our PD alone, we're about 188 sworn total, with numerous from patrol operation divisions, tactical support that we're in. So Travis and I are in the tactical support division. But overall, a little smaller size agency with a big city. So we're not, I know it sounds a little crazy, Surprise, and may seem small, but it's actually a pretty decent city.
Talk to me about the team. How big is the team?
So we got 16 overall. Is that what it is now? 8 full-time. At the time of this incident, we had 8 full-time operators, and then we had 8 ancillary guys. I think only of those 8 ancillary guys, we have, I think it was 2 or 3 wing members. So for us, we have a program. So when you first get on, you go through an internship for a year. You get a mentor that sits with you. We evaluate you monthly, see how you perform, whether or not you're going to be fit for it. And then if at the end of your 12 months, we'll get together as our wing members and say, hey, is this individual worthwhile to wing? Which is like a ceremony kind of thing we do where it's like we accept you into the brotherhood, right? Type thing. So again, we had 2 wing members and then the rest were interns essentially.
Got it. And the 8-man full-time element, is that full-time SWAT? Is that a full-time element that's also working crime suppression or doing some kind of collateral duty?
So we do a variety of roles. At the time we have 8, including a sergeant. One of us was a TFO, which is a,
Task Force Officer?
Task Force Officer, thank you. He's working for the U.S. Marshals at the time. And he was actually at this incident as well. We're mainly in charge of making sure the training for the full-time team is good. We also do fugitive apprehension and then any other type of special detail, surveillance, stuff like that. So if there's a violent offender within our city that patrol doesn't have time to get or they hit a certain parameter, they'll send it over our way. We have a little more time, resources, some undercover vehicles, and then we'll do a workup on that individual, find out where he works, day-to-day operations, then we'll find a way to effectively take him to arrest for the safest way, that patrol doesn't have the ability to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the training tempo for the team? How often do you guys get to train?
So pretty much NTOA standards, right? Where we were training that 20 hours a month kind of concept. However, a little bit after this incident, in about September, I pitched an idea that I talked to some of the guys, like, hey, 10-hour training days kind of get exhausting. You start losing people after a while. So I was like, why don't we let's break it down. Let's try We'll do 5 hours, but we'll do it every Wednesday. And mind you, this is just full team, not the full time guys. No, I don't want to confuse that. So as far as full team training, we are training every Wednesday for 5 hours. So we wanted to keep it consistent every single week. And we're also trying to fill time as a new team in that full time element. We wanted to keep consistency and build routine in our weekly schedules. So we swapped to that. We wanted to make sure that if we had a problem one week, we can address it the next week. If you missed a training, it wasn't, hey, we did HR this month and here it is 6 months later. You may have missed that, but now we're doing HR a few months later. And then people forgetting that, we start to deteriorate our skills. So we kept it consistent. So every week, 5 hours, team training.
That's a great model.
Stuff. We will touch on, each month is definitely going to be a firearms day. We've kind of rolled our training specific to HR. We do our basic CQB movements, but we really hit hard on HR. So at least once a month, it's HR scenarios. Then more specialty training, whether it's less lethal gas, breaching training, snipers. Snipers have actually kind of separated from us. They're their own element under the SAU umbrella. However, recently they've been rolling right into that 5 hours. So they're squeezing into some extra training too, which is awesome.
The ancillary guys they're working patrol. They're attached to the team. So kind of, they're a true collateral duty portion of your team. Those guys are working patrol normally.
Yes. So we were up until TSD, our tech support division, was created in 2021 with our new chief. And come 2022, some trials and tribulations, right? But our chief had the vision of, hey, we're going to go full time. So I'm going to create an 8-man unit. Our chief came from Phoenix, so big agency stuff. So he said, we're going to create a full-time element to this. So 8 of us went full-time. And then the other side of things are just detectives. We have a couple patrol guys. Most of them are detectives, patrol. We have 2 sergeants, so 1 full-time sergeant, 1 ATL. So we don't have an internal ATL on the team. It was more just a sergeant who is an ATL, but he's a full-time SRO sergeant. So that's kind of like more the makeup of our overall team there.
So on this day, what are the initial resources? Like who's working, what's available?
So this was 11:25 in the morning. So we had 2 day shift squads on. So I think there was 2 sergeants on duty and lieutenant, along with, I want to say about 15 officers total, to cover the city. We're over 100 square miles. So we're a very large, a lot of it is vacant lands and stuff like that. But about 15 officers on scene, or not on scene, but on duty at the time. And by the time we started arriving, before I get too far ahead, we had, I think, three patrol officers on scene, and then the sergeant had eventually showed up.
Got it.
One of those patrol officers was one of our ancillary SWAT members.
Okay. So let's start walking through the event. So how does it start?
So I was actually we started our shift at about 10. We were working a swing shift at that time, and about 11:25, I'm sitting at the computer, and then I hear the radio traffic for the call. Guys are kind of trickling in from the gym and stuff like that. So we'll monitor the radio, and I start hearing the call. And initially, I mean, we get a lot of false calls that are kind of like exactly like these. But as I'm listening to them, I'm like, all right, sounds actually a little bit more legit. I looked at the history of the house. There was like 2 DV calls. Wasn't a lot of history there. So that sounds pretty good. So I started letting the guys know, hey, start paying attention to the radio. There's this going on. And then by the time I get out to my car, that's when the first call for the shots fired were kicked out. So then I really knew that this was something real. So
from a patrol standpoint, the initial call comes from who?
The first call came from a construction worker. So if you understand, this area is, a few of the houses are built, but a lot of the houses it's all a new build kind of community. So there's a lot of houses under construction, a lot of construction workers down that street with a few occupied homes.
Got it. And like, I guess let's talk about kind of what happens before and probably put in context, like you guys don't know most of what we're about to say when you arrive on scene, but it's probably good to set context. So how does this, for the victim's purposes, how does the day kick off?
So in hindsight, what we learned is that the victim and her 6-month-old baby that she shared with the suspect, she was staying at her parents' home in Surprise. The parents were out of town on vacation on a cruise, so that's where the suspect got wind of this. So he had started casing the house the day prior, dressing up like an Amazon worker, trying to cover up the Ring cameras, and he also made a phone call to his work saying that there was a death in the family. And this was all the day before the incident. So he was pre-planning. He already knew what he was getting into. So the day of the incident, about 3:00 in the morning. So mind you, this incident didn't kick off to about 11:25 in the afternoon. So at 3 in the morning, the suspect broke into the home. He had a duffel bag he had tons of ammunition. He had some firearms, duct tape, zip ties, like the whole world. They even mentioned of tripwires in there for what he was trying to set up. So he wakes her up. He forces her outside to smoke, forces her to do some drugs and drink and keep her going throughout the night. And at some point, he pretty much wanted to prove how serious he was, that's when he actually killed the dog. So he shoots the dog sometime early in the morning. And about 7 in the morning is when they actually go to the vet to take the dog. She was alone in the car for a brief moment in time while he took the dog in. He just made an excuse that he found the dog, ran over. So by the time they really had the chance to look at the dog, he was already out. So goes in quickly, drops the dog off, comes back, and then they end up back at the house.
Yeah, so it's actually for a brief moment there, it's like a mobile kidnap where he's running her around the city and dropping off the dead dog.
Yeah, she did say that she did think about it, but the process happened so quick from him going in and coming out, and she was still just too fearful to even take that opportunity.
Got it. Okay, so he's killed the dog. They're back at the house after the vet, 8:00 in the morning, let's say 7-something, 8:00 in the morning. And so 3 hours later, how does she get out of the house?
So the window that he broke, she made a deal with him that she would go down, speak with some of the construction workers, and see if she can get a quote on repairing that window. Because again, this was her parents' home. So she knew that was her opportunity to say, hey, I need you to call the police. So she goes about 4 houses to the east, meets a few construction workers, and starts telling them what's going on. I need you to call the police. If he sees the police, like she's letting us know that the baby's in the house, that he broke in the morning. He's been threatening to kill them. He'll kill the baby. So she's informing all that to the initial neighbor or the construction worker before she goes across the street, and then starts talking to the neighbor and have the neighbor call as well.
Got it. So now you got multiple 911 calls.
Correct.
I'm assuming most of that information is probably past the dispatch. So as patrol officers are arriving, they don't know the backstory as to what's happened.
Correct.
About the dog and the vet and all of that, but they do know that she is in the house. He's holding her hostage and she's afraid he's going to kill a baby. Or actually, she's now out of the house.
She is, yeah.
Yeah, she was having, so the issue that they ran into was they were getting mixed information from the original caller, the 911 caller, the construction worker said, oh, she went back into the house. But we learned later on her going back in the house was actually the house across the street. The patrol officers were giving the wrong address for the house initially as well. They were giving the house of the second neighbor 911 call. And then as the 911 call from that neighbor was going on, she took off somewhere again throughout this new build construction site.
Okay. So she's kind of running around like you would when your baby's trapped inside of a house. Okay. So patrol starts arriving. When do you guys first get there?
Oh, gosh. I think so. Again, our one guy that's on the TFO with the marshals, he was actually not too far away doing a follow-up on a case. So he had heard the call, and he pushed that way. So the 2 patrol officers and then our 1 TFO on the team and then our ancillary patrol SWAT guy, it was almost simultaneous, probably a few minutes after the initial patrol guy got there. I would say one of our guys got there, I would say maybe 15 or so minutes. So mind you, from where we work to get to that address, especially with traffic, it's like a 20-minute drive. So it takes time to get out that way. So it was about 15 or so minutes from the time the call kicked out.
When patrol officers get there, what do they see?
They don't see anything from my understanding of it. They end up doing a soft perimeter around the house because they're still trying to figure out which house it was, and they're still trying to locate the female, the original caller that's saying that her child's inside and get some more intelligence because everyone else that they talked to didn't know much. Like, hey, I just moved here. It's a brand new neighborhood. I don't know these people. I don't really know what's going on, and I don't know where she went. I think around that time, they had set up a soft, I guess, kind of perimeters. They had a couple units there, but not enough to do a full-on, surround of the house. And I think that's when they started hearing gunshots going off from inside.
Correct. So, preface that she had not been found. She did make a phone call into 911 as well at some point, right after one of the neighbors. So, and when officers arrive on scene, they have not contacted her. So they haven't been able to get any actual information from her directly. One of our team guys that's on patrol found her finally. And as he's starting to talk with her, the gunshots start ringing out. So he breaks his contact with her to go figure out what's going on with the house. So we kind of lose her again. So it isn't until a few moments later that another officer shows up, finds her, puts her in the back of his car, and actually has that face-to-face with her and that confirmation that, yes, my baby is still in the home. So prior to that, it's all went through dispatch. And as we all know, when these emergency calls kick out and you're going, like, you get the information, you're looking at your MDCs. We didn't have MDCs at the time. So we're just hearing things, but a lot of information is coming in and you're missing a ton of that information as you're trying to get to the scene. But we never had any actual confirmation. You'd hear, hey, there was a baby inside. We didn't know for sure until we actually contacted her and that face-to-face confirmation that the kid was in there.
And at the point that you get that confirmation, shortly thereafter, he starts shooting out the front of the house.
So it was prior to the confirmation. He was actually shooting out of the house.
Yes. So I would go off of it. So our first the TFO guy and the our patrol ancillary member, they had got a shield and started pushing up along with patrol. And as they were pushing up, that's when he started shooting through the front door. And then they took a tactical pause, pulled to the side, and were waiting for additional assets to get there before they started going further in.
Got it. Okay. So he basically saw them.
Yes.
And starts shooting at them.
Yep.
Okay. And somewhere in there, and you're not going to know this till later, but somewhere in there, he's going to shoot the baby.
Correct.
Yeah, I believe it was during that barrage of gunfire because it was quite a bit of shooting. I don't know how many it was, but he was shooting a lot.
And he shoots the baby
4 times.
4 times?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a patrol guy that pushes up with a shield, or you got one of your guys that pushes up with a shield, takes pause while the guy's shooting out the front of the house. What's the next thing that happens?
So I think it was kind of I don't know, I would always label it as divine intervention in my mind, but it was a really weird setup for all of us because we're not all in the same spot of the city. We're responding from the other side of the city, and we all kind of arrive on scene to assist at the exact same time within like 20, 30 seconds of each other, getting everything prepped up. One of our operators that had just gotten back from breacher school showed up, which is perfect, right? He was there with Tim's guy because they were doing a breaching demonstration somewhere in the city. So at that point, Scott and the other operator had showed up to the west of the house. I had just gotten there to assist the operator and the patrol officer on the east of the house. And we were trying to gather some intelligence at that point because the thing we were running into, too, on our end was we didn't have MDCs at the time, which is like a mobile computer. So we're basically going off of just chaotic radio traffic. So we're hearing some bits and pieces of here, but we hadn't gotten to the scene yet to actually break it down. I'm like, hey, what is actually going on? I hear there's gunshots. I hear there's a potential hostage, but has anybody found the mom? Is she able to provide actual information? Because, again, it's hard to act upon third-party information. Like, I'm getting and then getting the information from the construction worker and the neighbor who were still kind of confused about it, giving us bits and parts, how much of that is actually intelligence and how much of that is just information. So getting it from the female herself would provide us intelligence that, hey, there is actually confirmed a child inside at this time.
Got it.
Yeah, so by the time I arrived, like I said, he was on the 1-4 east side of the house, and myself and our breacher were the first. So as soon as I get up there, I see a few of the patrol guys. I get kitted up, I push up, and my breacher's like, hey, I need you to hit point. It's like, all right, cool. That's my job. And by the time I'm sitting there, I would say I was probably there for 2-3 minutes. And I remember just in my mind, it's like, all right, this is real. This like the moisture in my mouth was gone. It was all cotton mouth. I was like, this is it. This is the moment. And like, yeah, nerves and stuff like that. But I was like, we got to do it. We got to go. And that's when I finally hear our canine guy was kind of like, hey, getting on the radio, like, hey, we got to push. He was a prior SWAT guy as well. He's like, we got to get in there. We got to get in there. He hits the lieutenant. It's like, hey, what are we waiting on? And then the lieutenant was like, you're good to go. So we hear that, and which was simultaneous to the confirmation with the officer and the mother saying, yes, the baby is there. So we kind of converge from both east and west up to that front door. Screen was locked. My breacher comes up, pops that door, gets that door front open. I remember standing there just staring at the bullet holes in the doors, like, oh geez, I really hope. But I want to emphasize, just prior to that, we started hearing banging noises. So we hadn't heard any shooting, and to set that stage is there was no shooting. I never heard shooting when I got on stage. So it was about 7 minutes, right? I think we came around. So from the time the last shot was fired to the time we made entry was actually 7 minutes. So there was some delay in that motion. Whether you can speak on stimulus being gone at that point, I don't know. We can have all sorts of conversations on what that means. But the decision was still to go, and we made entry into that house, and then that's where.
So I mean, retrospectively, the guy probably shooting out the front door, sees the cops arrive,
Yeah.
Shoots at them, and then flees back farther into the house.
Yeah, when we get deeper into this, I'll give you my theory of what the picture I have painted in that situation of what happened. But yeah, we get up to the house. He breaches the door super easily, which was great. There's no delay on that. Super tight space. And then what we tell people is with HR movements, right? When we went full time, we actually relied heavily with Phoenix PD for a lot of their training. So their CQB movements, and both their CQB school and their HR school. So the movements that you hear to some of the videos, they were new to us. We had only trained those we had 2 guys that went through the training. They brought it back. We've trained it a couple times prior, but it was like, we got to do it now. So you see kind of like, you do kind of fall to the lower level of training. You'll see that through the movements, but overall pushing through and making it work at the end of the day.
And you guys, I mean, is your theory, I mean, obviously the breach is going to be loud, but are you not throwing bangs?
So we didn't have any resources at the time. So again, we're responding as I would say as attack officer. We're getting obviously our team's getting pulled up, but going back to what we do as a full time is that we assist patrol for high end calls, or we proceed to be high end calls. So like initially when we hear this information, I'm not going to be driving code to this, right? Initially, I'm like, okay, this might be interesting. I'm going to start driving there with my due regard, but we'll see because patrol should be able to handle most of it. When the shots go off, I'm like, okay, so now I'm driving code because it shows the seriousness of what's happening. So we didn't have any of the resources at the time. We were getting those in place, but getting a Bearcat through lunch traffic across one side of the city to the other is going to take forever. And that's usually that, and our equipment van has all of our bangs on it.
Got it. So you guys you're going in, no bangs. You've got vests and you get your vests on and helmets on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you got a shield.
So, we had the guy with his Marshall shield,
which we dumped.
That was up there.
We dumped it at the front door.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't use it.
So your normal HR movement wouldn't be using
no
a shield.
So our HR is our blessing too, especially now that we've hit on it more. Our HR is no different than our CQB, except for when we do our CQB, in order for the 2-man to let the 1-man know like we're good to go, we'll squeeze. But instead of squeezing, we do a with you Scott, to give him that confirmation you've got somebody, and we break it down to like a 4-man hunt or so. Always 2 to a room like we do with CQB anyway. But again, most of that's the only difference is going to be we're going to be moving as a unit, and then again it's with you, which gives you the confirmation, so you're not taking your hand off gun.
Got it. And the idea is with your HR movement. I don't know if normally you would use bangs in an HR, but is the theory here basically you're going to kind of stealth to contact as much as you can, or are you?
So honestly, when I went in, I just thought I was expecting the initial. Like, I was literally expecting every room as he's going to be having the gun to the baby's head, and this is how we're going to end this. And I figured first man's going to get shot, but second man's going to be able to at least take that shot because we're trying to divide the attention. I didn't think about the bangs, again, with this being a hasty entry compared to a deliberate. Like, we didn't have time to set up, because I believe if we were doing a deliberate, we would start introducing bangs on the side, think about ulterior breach points. But I think we just, once we got that intelligence that, hey, there is a kid and he's been shooting, we don't know what's going on with that child at this point. And obviously this dude's, showing some type of violence, and the baby being 6 months old doesn't have the ability to leave or even sense the danger that's going on.
Yeah, so that's the stimulus to then make entry.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of breakdown at the beginning, and one of our takeaways from this is that so there was no planning, right? So officers had been on scene for an extended period of time, and everyone's trying to figure out where the female is, the mom, in this. But really, there was no planning, trying to set up at least a crisis entry team. Hey, start thinking about dual entry points, like just getting everything going. And there was really no planning going on. So when we started arriving, and one of the things I remember after the fact is that when my breacher was like, hey, I need you to be number one. You're going to be my cover. It's like, all right, I just got sucked into that role. Like, I'm the point. This is my role. That's all I'm thinking about. Instead of taking that step back and saying, hey, one of us need to run this. We're taking control of this. This is our realm. So don't assume that your patrol officers or your patrol sergeant is going to actually take on that responsibility of planning. How much do they even know when it comes to this? So there wasn't a lot of planning. So by the time it was go, it was just what we got is what we got.
You're defaulting back to your standard tactics.
Yeah. So that's all we had at the time.
Got it.
But plan.
So you guys make entry. Is there any stimulus, any sign of the guy as you enter the building? What do you see? What do you hear?
No, and that was what was kind of eerie about it. We had the canine officer brought his dog in, which was a little bit of a distraction. We talked to him about it too. He don't know why he did, but again, it's high adrenaline, high stress. He had the dog with him.
He's a canine guy. You bring the dog.
Yeah. So he just sat at the front. All you hear is the barking at the dog, and then you hear again our pushing through. We had no more stimulus. For some reason, we talked about that first point operator. He got stuck on a room. If you ever actually wait to watch the body cam, you'll see he stops on a room that's barricaded, which put it like a hold on our train because we're supposed to continue movement. But I couldn't figure out what was going on. I couldn't see, so I'm giving him the with you command. He's halted because it's barricaded, but he's like, oh well, just go on without me. Like I'll hold this. You guys push past. So yeah, we're going through, and then there's more, I guess, chaos from us or like loudness from us. Because at this point, they already knew, we already assumed that he knew we were coming in. We got the dog barking, us breaking in. He saw the cops coming up. And then we're just, again, our HR tactic is with you. So we're getting that out there verbally. So no stimulus whatsoever. And it was eerie as you get down to each room that he's not in. You're just like, fuck, this is, okay, well, now probability, what are the odds? Like, it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah, your odds might have been 1 in 8 when there were 8 rooms.
Yeah.
But when there's 2 left, it's
You're like,
50-50.
Yeah, all right, buddy, this is it. This is the time. So, yeah, it was none. It wasn't, the only thing we had gotten was at the very end, moving up to that master bedroom. We had cleared out, I think, 4 or 5 rooms at that point. We were moving up to that master bedroom, was located at the very rear of the house, and it did like a weird U shape. So you go into the master bedroom, had like a type of foyer master bedroom. It'd wrap around on the other side with the bathroom and the bathroom closet. Scott went in first, and then our TFO operator went in second, and it was, I guess he didn't see, but he was trying to get to his corner because we go to each corner is how we do ours. So we make sure we run our walls and hit our corners. When he did it to get a footing to run that wall to the right, he swept the floor, which happened to be where the baby was in the bouncer. So that was our stimulus. So once the baby went down, he said, get the baby. And I was third man in. I was looking for work because I figured at this point, I thought, again, probability was this is where he's at. Only thing I got was I'm looking for the baby. The house is trashed, and I just hear the baby cry. And that's why I'm looking around, and I finally see it, a turned over bouncer.
Empty gun. Go. We got the baby out. I mean, let's go. Jackson, good.
Which worked out for me because I had a kid at that time. My youngest was a little under a year. So getting a baby in and out of bouncer is like what I do day to day. So I thought that was kind of a good spot for me to be in. Yeah, so I was able to scoop the baby out. That was the only stimulus I got was a little bit of whimpering from him. And then at that point, it was time to get out because we didn't know where he was. We've got our goal. Our goal was to get the baby. Whether or not we made contact with him, we don't know where he's at. Wasn't sure at the time if he'd killed himself during that time. Like, did he shoot the baby and kill himself or what it was? But at that point, we had gotten our objective, and we go off of our safety priorities, right? So we got hostage, innocent, police, suspect. At this point, we have our hostage or innocent, however you want to look at it. Now we have suspect in us, and we're above him. We can take this out of the house, and we've got tools and training and tactics to handle this appropriately and safely so we can make sure our officers don't get hurt or at least limit that.
When did you figure out the baby was hurt?
I didn't know it until I had passed off the child. So when I had initially done it, I had figured with all the chaos and all the drugs and crap that Stu was doing, that they were just neglecting the child. So when I initially picked him up, I had felt some wetness and some things. I thought he had just soiled himself or he had a leaky diaper. And it wasn't until I had was passing off the child to the detective at the corner of the perimeter that as I'm passing off, I saw blood all over my arm and stuff like that and in the baby. So I was like, hey, telling the detective, hey, he's been shot or he's bleeding. I didn't know he had been shot at the time, but I said, hey, he's bleeding, check him. And then I turned back and went and joined my dudes on the 1-2 corner to start barricade procedures at that point to assist with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the interesting things about this case and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you guys is obviously, it's very easy to run past your end state, right? The end state here is rescuing the child, but it's very easy to run past your end state and end up in a gunfight that you maybe didn't have to. What was the stimulus that made you guys, was that just the way you train, that if you find your jackpot, you're out? Or what was the stimulus that made you go, we're out of here, let's turn this thing into a barricade?
Exactly that. We have separation, right? With separation and safety priorities. And it's funny this, I had, some people had asked about that. Well, you guys already dominated the house. Why not stick with it? I was like, is that even an option? Like, we've never trained that before.
Never trained that.
Like, I got separation and I can go into barricade procedures. Yeah, I get it. We're giving that house back up to that guy. But at the same time, we've got cover. We've got all of our tools. Everything's back here. We're adjacent. This master bedroom where we believed he was in the master bathroom closet. We're now adjacent to this guy who's been indiscriminately shooting already out the doors, in the house, at the kid. And we want to have drywall as our separation, and then them hearing us there. So the end state was get that child out or find him, whichever came first. So we found the child and get out of there and get to safety and handle this how we handle it.
Was there any argument in the team?
No.
That's fantastic.
Everyone knew exactly their role.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's especially that close, right? Like, to some degree, it's very easy to end up the dog chasing the ball off the cliff.
Right.
So it's great that you guys quickly figured that out and pulled back. So you make the decision. I mean, a normal barricade for you guys, let's maybe describe, what does your normal barricade procedure look like?
So normal barricade procedure is just containing that house. We've got armor up there. And we're pretty much just a surround and call out team. So we'll just start working people out of the house one by one. With resistance, we'll start implementing our next steps through gas, or depending on the propensity of violence at the end of the day. I mean, down to even tearing a house apart if we've got to.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So, okay, so you guys, baby's out, baby's on getting on a medevac flight, going to get surgery and is going to survive with 4 gunshot wounds.
Yes.
And then you guys fall back into a barricade procedure. So how many guys do you have when you actually initially make entry? How many team guys do you have, and how many patrol officers are with you?
We had five technically, 5 SWAT guys.
Okay.
We had 2 patrol units, a patrol sergeant, and then a K9. So as soon as we made that initial entry, The guy that was one of our guys that was hung up on that barricade, which after the fact was like, I don't know why I did that. It's cool. He kind of had those guys hold off there. And then we continued that flow through. And that's the conversation. It's just like having mixed tactics patrolled. I mean, you got a patrol element, right? You have a few SWAT guys, you have patrol elements that don't train those things. What makes them stop? Is it fear? Is it, I don't want to get in your way? Is it, hey, they're SWAT guys, they train this, like just let them do their thing. It could be numerous things. But they end up staying back there. So yeah, about 8, 9 guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Total.
And so now you're going to pull back, obviously trigger the entire team at that point. I'm assuming the team's probably already rolling your way, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we already had one of our guys was on light duty at the time. So by the time I was leaving our office, I'm like, he's like, you need to get there now. I was like, I don't care about your light duty, because he was on light duty. He's like, get the Bearcat, start going. We'll handle that later. So he was getting that set up. So we had a couple guys there with our equipment van, our armor, everything was getting rolling. So it was, by the time we set up across the street or around the area, it wasn't long for armor was already showing up and breaching those windows.
Yeah, I think that was one of the good things I liked. I thought was, I guess, reassuring or comforting in my own minds. When we're out, we're done. We had gotten back behind cover. We made it clear in the radio. We said, hey, everybody calm down, slow down. We are down to barricade procedures. We'll handle this appropriately. Like, don't get over amped up. Like, everyone's out. No officers are hurt at this time. Let's continue on with what we're doing as of treating, again, back to barricade. We can relax as far as our,
Oh, so you guys actually, like, there was an actual conscious reset.
Yeah.
That you guys engage in. That's an interesting point. So who did that conscious reset?
That was Officer Vega Reed, actually.
Yeah.
At the time, he was our initial breacher, the guy that got hung up on the thing. He's the one that I thought was great. Calm and cool, which, again, it's just helped for everyone on scene because we're over radio traffic. You can hear that from whether it be patrol, our fire assets, everyone that's coming en route saying, hey, everyone, we are on barricade procedures. We can slow down now.
Nice.
So that way, you didn't want responding officers still driving code and all this other stuff and hurting themselves unnecessarily, right?
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, it's brilliant to not only make the decision that you've got the baby get out, but then to consciously reset and go, okay, just like slow this whole thing down. We're in a barricade now. That's a pretty advanced skill set to modulate your speed that much and pull it back to like, okay, everybody just calm it. We're gonna like reset.
He did a great job.
So now you're set up on this house. Your armor's getting there. You guys, I'm assuming, are setting a perimeter. What happens next in the barricade? Are you ever talking to this guy? Is he saying anything?
No, and that's the thing is we go through this house, and again, any team that trains HR or has a vision in your mind of like, what's that? If it ever happens, what's it going to look like? And you go through this entire house, almost the entire house, and you don't find the bad guy. Like that. When we talk about that hunter mindset, going through these houses, that if you find somebody, you shouldn't be surprised. And I know we weren't surprised. At least I was definitely not surprised, because every time we turned a corner, I was surprised not to see somebody. I was expecting someone to be there at every turn. Nobody was there. So when we start backing, I'm like, all right, I mean, maybe this guy killed himself. Like, they're like, how did this dude not present himself with us coming through? And then fortunately, the baby was where the baby was. So we didn't have to push deeper into that master bath closet where he was hiding, because that was a fatal funnel if you've ever seen one, right? That was as tight as can be, and thankfully he didn't have that child in that closet. So we got there's skills, there's tactic, and there's so much luck that comes with this.
Yeah,
like when I talk about when we do these conferences and I talk about how things fell into place so well from our having a breacher on scene right away as quickly as we did. But I tell that breacher was actually doing a demo with the robots down the street from our training center, and he had our TAC medic with him. He didn't have any gear. He didn't have his stuff. But we had a TAC medic there. So by the time they just started hauling butt down to the scene, so he's just throwing on my buddy's secondary gear just to get there. But we had a medic right there on scene to deliver that baby to immediately while they're getting fire resources together as well. So when I say things fell into place as best as it could, this was one of those situations that everything just went into place.
Yeah, but I firmly believe that luck favors the prepared.
That's true. That's true.
To some degree, you
Yeah.
make your own luck, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that is true.
or you prevent luck from being on your side.
Yeah.
So how long does the barricade go on before? Are you ever going to have any contact with this guy, or is he just?
Nothing as far as like conversating or any type of negotiations. The only contact we had was visual movement and him shooting at us. That's the only thing that we knew he was alive. But again, I was on the same thing as Scott. I'm like, this dude probably killed himself. Like it's the odds of us not finding him was uncanny to me. But we went with our normal barricade procedures. The Bearcat rolls up, breaks in, immediately ports the front window and tries to get eyes inside the house again so we can keep there. We rally our guys there. To the back of the Bearcat, we get in contact with our secondary unit. Goodyear usually helps us out when it comes to we need an extra set of armor. So they're en route as well.
So City of Goodyear,
City of Goodyear, yes. Yep. City of
their
Goodyear.
team comes out and okay.
Yeah, we're like,
We only have one armor,
Yeah.
one Bearcat, so an equipment van. So we utilize them because they've got a bear and a Bearcat.
yeah. So they're like our go-tos and vice versa. They'll call us typically. So we're getting that going on. And then once we get everything in place, I think it's been about an hour and a half, we just start deciding, hey, we're going to insert some gas into that 3 side to see if we can get some type of stimulus, something from him. Or see if we can, ideally, the idea behind that is to put gas in the 3 side, or to the back of the house, and to push him to the front where we're at, and we have an arrest team in place in order to affect it, him to come into custody. And at that point, he started shooting at us again. Like, oh, okay, well, at least, now we know he's alive. We can handle that and work through that problem. Because again, if we can't get anything else, we're gonna have to start again taking down walls or putting in, soften the structures, what we call it, by putting in technology, robots, drones, and stuff.
Got it. Okay, so over the how long is this barricade gonna go?
Gosh, so I would say from the time we made entry about 11:54
Yeah, baby's out
Till
at basically
about-
noon,
yeah.
right?
until about, I think this went till 3:30,
Okay,
close to in May in Phoenix.
and
It's
so
great.
you're gonna have multiple yeah, exactly. May and Phoenix and a Bearcat. What could go
Yeah,
wrong in
yeah.
armor? So he's gonna fire multiple volleys at you guys over the course of that 3 hours.
The initial part, yeah. And then it wasn't like, so again, we there was no contact with him whatsoever. And it was, my perception of time is probably way off, but I remember they've sent a couple of us to take some rehab in the van. And I remember at some point someone was like, hey, I see movement. And that was like the first time. It was like, my heart kind of sunk. It's like, dang, that dude he was actually alive the whole time. I thought he was just, I came to the conclusion we didn't see him because he was dead.
Got it.
And then knowing he's still alive, he was still in there. So he was just in wait or whatever. So that was the confirmation he's still kicking. So he was trying to barricade some additional, because Goodyear was on the 2 side with several of the windows, and they can actually see some barricading happening on the windows.
So he's set up his ambush and he's waiting for you guys to walk into it.
Yeah.
Got it. So you introduce gas, and he shoots a little bit, and then anything else happen?
No, that's it. He shot, and then again, just more barricade procedures, which, I mean, it happens. 14% of the population is unaffected by CS, right? So we're just trying to figure out, we can do 2 different things with this. We can either introduce the gas to force him out to the front like we want, or we can introduce the gas to deny him an area, or we can do it just for location purposes, because we can't see in yet, right? We're still trying to work on getting everyone in place. We had called Phoenix at that time to get a Rook out there, which is best described as like an armored tractor that helps destroy.
Unless they call it something different around here. I don't know if they do, but yeah, it's just like an armored bobcat.
Yeah. It's just an armored bobcat.
Yeah. So we had that in place. We weren't really ready to take on the deconstruction of the house yet, but we're hoping we can do ulterior means, because again, we're waiting for time-wise. We've got to think about rehab and switching out with our guys, because it's, again, like he was saying, May and Phoenix. So after that, it's just him starting to barricade some more, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to tackle this at this time.
Okay. What's the next thing that happens?
So this is where like a lot of the planning started happening. So on our lieutenant, so the command level, with Phoenix Rook coming out and wanting to take apart this house, their advice was, hey, if you guys are going to need swap out, we're not going to take apart this house until our team gets here. So they didn't want their team to come in the middle of a house being taken down. So it was like, hey, do you guys want to stick with this? And we're like, yeah, we're not giving this up. We own it. It's ours. So we held for that time period. So again, as we're talking a few hour process, we've decided we're taking this. There was a point where we've already taken the garage out. We've taken the front window out by the front door. Peoria's put in some gas. Or I'm sorry, Goodyear put in some gas onto that 2 side. And again, not really a ton of movement going on inside that house. There's a few moments of barricading, and then our robot actually spotted the first the fire. So then the fire started, which
So at
was
this point, you've actually rolled a robot into the house?
Yep, robots are in there. Our robot got locked up in the garage. It was a little bit cluttered, and then the robot, our Transcend robot, was cruising through, holding that that foyer into the master bedroom, and that's where the tile started to carpet. And then usually our med guys will actually kind of run the robot, and they say, "Hey, there's a small fire right here." So actually, right where the baby was located is where the fire kind of started, in that general area, which he wasn't anywhere else in the house. So he was now kind of stuck in the master bedroom area, more than likely, when that fire started kicking up. So his only option was go out the master bedroom window, which I believe was the broken one.
Yes.
I believe that was the broken one. So he had the option to just go out that, and he chose still not to. So the fire just started consuming the house at that point. So we were working on we had no exigency for him with that fire. It was a controlled burn at that point. He had every opportunity to leave that home, and he never did. So we actually got the fire department to come around, and we wanted the house next door was on the maps. It looks like it's an empty lot, but there was a home there that they were out of town. So we started putting water onto the house to kind of control that fire as best we could. So there were some active measures to contain that fire. And then that's when rounds just started ripping. It's this constant round, just firing. So and then they stopped, and then working after the fire was kind of contained, some time down the road. Again, still no contact with this guy. He never appeared. And
Yeah, so
you can talk in that part because you guys went in there.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what was going on. So once they got into control burn, and like he was saying, we actually we kind of worked out in our own favor too, because prior to the fire starting, we had already sent groups of elements around to remove to get everybody out of the houses nearby, because he had been known to consistently be shooting. So we're trying to get everybody vacated from their homes in the immediate area, get the construction crews pushed back to the end of the street. So we already had that down. So that was easy for us to get our Tims in. The Tims did a great job. They ended up controlling the burn, goes down. And then once it was safe to go in, I went in with the fire inspector and a few Tims guys, fire department people, to see where they could find him. We ended up locating him in some rubble at in the master closet area underneath it.
And the house had, at that point, pretty much burned to the ground?
Yes.
The majority of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you guys located him in the master closet?
Yes,
Yep.
which is that one room away from where we had found the baby.
Got it. And he's self-inflicted?
Yes.
Yeah, he shot himself. However, it didn't kill him.
Yeah.
So he actually had smoke in his lungs. So he ultimately died from the smoke inhalation fire.
Shot himself in the head and didn't...
Just knocked him out, obviously. But he actually died from the smoke inhalation.
Oh, really?
The lungs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He even failed at shooting himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. So now looking back at this thing, I mean, obviously, fantastic rescue. Very little doubt that baby was going to die. I mean, he had shot the baby 4 times, so there's no doubt the baby's going to die. Looking back at it, what did you guys get right? Like, I think there's both positive and negative lessons learned in any kind of an event like this. And like, let's start with the positive. What do you think you guys got right, either in training or on the operation, that kind of brought luck to your favor?
The ability that we can feed off each other. Like we know how to move. We are so consistent in our training that there's no delay. Once we start getting on scene, we start controlling that stuff, and it's go time. There might be little hoops and hurdles in there, especially learning new movements, but we feed off so well working together. And I think it's an important thing with teams, that cohesiveness. It generally prevents things from happening that you don't want. Like, I trust this person. So I think that's one of our done wells is we did well with just getting through the best we could on that house. Don't stop, don't freeze, just move. That was a positive thing I took away from that. Actually, in action, away from a training. This was real life.
Yeah.
Like you're. I always tell people that even a scenario is still a real scenario, right? Even just because no one can get hurt in that scenario, it's still a lesson learned. It's still an experience you went through that's now in your brain. So this was a real one. So I love the way we had worked together. I wish things were a little bit different, but in some aspects.
So what would you change looking back at it? What's your, I wish we had, or we should not have, or
The biggest takeaway that I recall is that controlling. So by the time we arrived, there wasn't really any time. There was a lot of time kind of leading up to when some of the operators arrived. By the time we arrived, it was only a couple minutes before we actually made entry. But still, looking back, so one of our rules now is as soon as an operator arrives to a scene, because we'll hear things on the radio. Sometimes it's bogus, sometimes it's not. We'll get there, we'll assess it. Is this a situation that's gonna bring us into play? So we'll feed that information to our TL and say, hey, no, it's nothing we need to touch. But if it's something, we will take over. So don't get sucked into a role. Like if you're the first operator there, I recommend you start with your knowledge and this is a SWAT call, whether it's an HR or just, hey, this is going to barricade. Like be the leader. You take control of it. It may not you might have to have that conversation with the patrol sergeant, say, hey, dude, like this is something I'll take care. I'll help you. Most of the time, patrol sergeants are gonna be fine with it. Like, especially smaller agencies where they don't have those skills, or there's a lot of major calls in a city. Like, hey, SWAT guys are here. Like, I feel really good letting you kind of take it over. So we'll take over the scene. We'll control that. We'll start managing the bodies. We'll start setting up the dual entry points, thinking about banks. Because I recall being, like I said, when I was sucked into that role, I was just thinking of my role. I wasn't thinking of all these other factors that are part of planning. So plan. When you have the time to plan, you better be planning.
Okay.
Or else you're winging it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you changed after this event in the way you guys are training or your tactics?
Training patrol. Yeah, these smaller agencies, get in with your patrol guys. Teach them because they're really not. I mean, I can't speak for every agency, right? But what patrol or what value training are your patrol folks getting? I mean, at the end of the day, with HRs that are moving rapidly, patrol's gonna be the one handling.
Yeah.
It's not very often that a SWAT team is gonna be there and get the opportunity to take care of that. It's usually a patrol entry to a hostage situation. So they need to know. You need to teach them because they're not getting it. They're not getting hostage rescue training from anywhere else. We're the leaders in that realm at your agency. You have to represent that and teach them. So we do. I'm as a training coordinator, so I coordinate all the training with our patrol side once a month. So it could be firearms. It can be just. Actually, this month was my plan to do the Cato DME with ours. So our patrol guys start seeing that. And debrief. You have to debrief with these guys. You have to have the uncomfortable conversations. If errors were made, I get it. Sometimes we don't want to hear that we made a mistake, but how you approach it, how you converse with them and have those debriefs, even with your patrol. Like don't just get sucked up with your folks and just, it's a SWAT only patrol or SWAT only debrief. It's a CID only brief. It's a patrol only brief. Like you guys have to come together and air that all out together or you'll never learn.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Trav, thoughts?
I know we end up moving to 5-hour trainings each week too, which is kind of helping us out. And then same thing like Scott was saying, getting out there with your patrol and opening up to the more training that they don't normally get. Like we had the luxury of getting more things, more time to do it. And their majority of, at least in our agency, it's board driven. So they're just going call to call to call, ready to get 10-7 and get done with it and take a break. But it's good to get them in there early and expose them to things that they may probably see more, be the first responder. Because being SWATs, it's great and it's good having the good tactic, having the full-time operator, but we're not like the first responders typically. We will be the second or third getting on scene. So giving them the confidence and the ability to control the situation, or at least have some sort of idea of where this is going to lead to, is a good opportunity to do. And we've been trying to implement that since the incident.
Baby ends up surviving.
Yeah. Yeah. Baby survived. Shot 4 times. One of the rounds was skin to skin or skin to barrel contact. So it was, that's how vicious this guy was. When we were rewatching body cam, it's hard to explain, but there, right before you enter that master bedroom, the firearm was on the floor, slide lock back, so empty gun. And he had called it out when we were making that entry. So after the fact, when I was saying we were hearing like some banging noises right before entry, what I believe happened is through his shooting, he just dropped the gun, let it go, started barricading. Not the front door, because the front door wasn't barricaded at all, but he started barricading kind of like that initial entry that was barricaded was to the garage. So it was like not really a mud room, but a little hallway to the garage and a closet. So that was all that was there. So I believe when we started breaching that front door, it actually drove him back. He had no gun anymore. It drove him back into hiding. So when we finished, we found the baby, got the baby out, and then the drone goes through towards the end where it shows all the bullet holes that he was shooting through. The gun was gone. So he had retrieved the gun again, of course. Not sure if he had any additional guns. I know that the father who owned the home said he had some guns there too. So I don't know if he had access to them, but I think by the time we started breaching, he wasn't in that mental state to fight yet. He was kind of in that lull. Like, I'm just going to barricade.
Yeah.
So it drove him back. It caught him off his own in some way. So I think that's a point of why we didn't find him.
Yeah, that makes sense. You disrupted his process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, fantastic conversation. Obviously, there's at least a 7-month-old that's alive because of your efforts. Congratulations on an amazing op.
Well,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks for having us here. Yeah.